Hey everybody, it's Mrs. Mancuso here to do a little AP Bio review. I'm actually at my mom's house and she's got some plants. So check out this plant. Not in soil right now. She does have some little roots growing off here. I guess she's probably trying to transplant it. It probably fell off another plant and she's trying to save it. So here's plant one, here's plant two. So I want to talk about the adaptations that each of these plants have and how they have adapted to their environment. And I want to start off with transpiration. Transpiration is how a plant loses water. So I can't really zoom in probably so well to this, but this plant is definitely got stomates. There's no way I would be able to zoom in to see it unless I had a microscope, but stomates on the lower surface are going to cause water to come out of it. And the air is obviously the same in this house right now. But these two are plants that have evolved in different areas and she's just brought them into her house. One of the differences between them that you notice right away, look at the leaves on this one. Sorry, hard to hold the camera. This one, if I just hold my finger here, look at how thick these leaves are. So if I do it like that, you can really see it. Super thick leaves, and there's little tiny hairs all over it. And they definitely have a larger surface area than over here. These ones are thinner. These are super thin if I turn it sideways. Like they're really, really skinny. So this one's got a thicker cuticle. Cuticles help reduce water loss. This plant is definitely found in a more dry, arid environment. So this is more likely to lose water to its environment than this one. So the transpiration rates, actually this one is going to lose a ton of water just because it has so much surface area as a whole. Those individual needles had less, or leaves had less, but this has overall so much more area. So this plant must live in an area that's not as dry because its leaves are more spread out and its surface area tends to be greater as an organism. So if we think about plants losing water, transpiration is what happens when a plant loses water. And here's my leaf, and at the bottom of my leaf are guard cells, and the opening is called a stomate. And so the first question might be like, why bother having stomates? Like, why would a plant have stomates if it's just going to lose water out of them? And I want you to think about what has to go in them. So what does a plant need? It needs CO2 to come in. If you don't have CO2, you can't do the Kelvin cycle. And if you can't do the Kelvin cycle, you can't make G3P, the good stuff. So you need your stomates open to get CO2 to do the Kelvin cycle to make G3P. The trouble is when this is open, water leaks out. And the reason why water gets out is because there is a higher water potential inside the leaf and a lower water potential in the air. That's pretty obvious because if I squished any of these leaves, water would probably come out onto my fingers. So this has higher water. There's no water on my fingers in the air. So this is definitely a lower water potential. So water escapes. So there are some ways of reducing transpiration. First of all, a thick cuticle. A thick cuticle reduces the amount of water that can escape from the top or the bottom of a plant. There are some plants, like this one here, that's got cuticle on both edges. It feels really waxy on both sides. You can probably see it because it's shiny. All right, so that shininess is its cuticle. Ooh, and look at all those little hairs. Those little hairs are also reducing the chance that water is going to escape. Okay, whereas this one was super flat, it is not waxy at all in my fingers. I literally feel no wax on it. So this one, water escapes probably pretty easy, but it probably lives in a humid environment where the water potential isn't so low. So we did an experiment. We actually took 3 different graduated burettes, so really tall, not just a graduated cylinder, but it had readings and it was super tall, and we had 3 of them. And we put the same kind of plant with the same surface area in all 3. And we sealed this off. We had like little parafilm paper so that no water escaped. And we got our initial readings of all 3. And we put them in 3 different conditions. So initial, initial, initial. Okay, and let's say this one was our control. So we just had that in the room. We just wanted to see how much water it would lose in the room over time. And then this one, we had a light on it. And this one, we had a fan on it. And the light went down some. It went down pretty much the same as the control one. But then the one with the fan was pretty drastic. It lost a lot more water. And so this difference in water loss is because with the wind, we were increasing transpiration because we were essentially drying the air. We were making the water molecules spread out way more, which means the air had a much lower water potential. Lower water potential in the air means you're more likely to lose water. So that's why this one lost so much. And you can imagine if we did another one, here would be my little graduated burette. And here's the same plant. Really important that I use same species of plant and same surface area. Like you want everything that you're not testing to be your control. So seal it off, get your initial amount. And let's say I wanted this one to be a humid environment. A humid environment, I could put a bag over it. Well, I could spray the air with water. So take a little squirt bottle and spray the air, put a bag over it, and I've now created this humid environment. The water potential for this is high. Inside of this plant, it's still higher. So it's still gonna lose water, but this water loss would maybe just be this. Very little water loss because the difference in water potential is so small. This one, the difference in water potential was so large, it lost so much water. So transpiration, again, loss of water by a plant based on the environment. And there are all sorts of things that that a plant can have that are adaptations. So when you think of adaptations that have to do with transpiration, you want to think about the cuticle. You want to think about the stomates. And when you think about the stomates, think about the surface area. How many stomates per area? So number of stomates, the surface area of the leaf. You want to think about, does it have any special adaptations? Like, does it control when the stomates are open versus closed? So for example, a cam plant closes its stomates all day and only has them open at night. That's going to greatly reduce the amount of transpiration that can occur because it's not open. Or a C4 plant, it's going to close it part of the day. So it's not going to lose as much water because it has more control over the guard cells and over the overall stomate. So a guard cell. Here's a plant cell. So it's got its cell wall and then it has this. The way that it opens or closes a stomate, so here's my stomate, here's the place in the middle. If a stomate is open, that means I've got potassium ions going in, and when potassium ions go in, water goes in. And when water goes in, it exerts turgor pressure, and the cell is nice and big, and it holds this open. If instead the K+ was going out, then the water would go out. And as the water goes out, my cell flattens out, and my stomates close. So when a stomate is closed, the water has gone out and the potassium has gone out. And when it's open, the potassium has come in and the water has come in. And so if a plant has plenty of water, you might as well have the stomates open. And if a plant starts dehydrating, it's losing water, so then it will close its stomates. So these are all great adaptations that have occurred in populations to allow them to take on a niche, a role in a certain area, and be the survivors. More likely to survive and reproduce means that they've adapted to the area and that they are going to be probably your climax community in that area.